Sit back, it's time to get groovy. Question, do you remember that movie?
Welcome back to Remember That Movie. I am the third Alejandro Rosa on IMDb.
And I am Steve Johnston, and I am not on IMDb.
And we're back with another episode and another movie. For this particular episode, it is Steve who we have to blame for our journey back to sadness, back to tears, back to therapy. Steve, please tell the people, what delightful journey are you taking us on?
Well, for this episode, I have subjected everyone to 1984's fantasy, The Neverending Story.
Steve, what is your background with this film? Before I tell you mine, what's yours?
It's funny because I don't remember the details of my history with this movie. I remember watching it when I was a child, not in the theaters. It was definitely viewed at home. And I remember there were multiple viewings because I very much enjoyed it when I was younger. But beyond that, I don't have any real recollection as to how I found it, if we owned it, if we taped it off the TV, or if it was just it's on, let's watch it. So the details are kind of light, almost as if my memories have suppressed themselves for some reason.
Only you and your therapist can know.
But you, sir, what is your history with this film?
This is a film that has been a part of my life from a very young age, I think. I think this film was on HBO. I think I watched it all the time. And if I were to list the top 10 films of my childhood, some of which we've covered on this podcast, like The Flight of the Navigator, like Willow, this one, I was obsessed with this film. I would watch this film anytime it was on. And it was on a lot. We've talked about this many times in the podcast. To go back to a movie from a different point in your life and to watch it with the eyes of today, which is the whole concept of our podcast, things hit differently. You experience things differently. You remember it differently. I have not watched this film since I was a little boy, and I am not a little boy anymore.
It's interesting you brought up the memory of the movie because in watching this, I realized there was a distinct split in my memory about this film, and we'll go into it a little later once we've covered some of the plot. Speaking of the plot, permit me to introduce you and the audience who may not be aware of the movie to the plot of this film, brought to us courtesy of the back of a VHS box from thousands of years ago. A doorway to a magical world, and imagination is the key. The howling forest, the ivory tower, the swamps of sadness, the magic mirror gate, the sea of possibilities. When young Bastian borrowed the mysterious, ornately bound book, he never dreamed turning a page would draw him into a shimmering fantasy world of racing snails, hang glider bats, philosophical mountain tortoises, soaring luck dragons, puckish elves, and a slab-faced walking quarry known as the Rockbiter. Jeopardized by an encroaching void known as the Nothing, the creatures of Fantasia and its child Empress must rely on the fortitude of the young warrior Atreyu, and on the faith of Bastian, who, by reading the wondrous book about Atreyu's adventures, has lived and suffered with them all. If you've tripped through the Looking Glass, or visited the Wizard of Oz, you'll cherish Bastian's spellbinding journey and triumph, discovering that the Neverending Story is your story.
That's actually pretty great.
Not bad at all, yeah.
Question.
Sir.
The music at the beginning of this film.
Yes.
The moment it started,
yes.
I wrote the music.
Music.
Okay. So if you can imagine, the music starts and like some part of my brain that has been dormant for several eons. Like
yes.
Imagine Christmas lights suddenly lighting up. As soon as that song started, this childhood memory room just lit up,
rushed
like
back.
Fireworks, and I was like, I've been here before. And it was like, whoa, wow, and the visuals of the clouds.
Yes.
And I was like, oh wow, I didn't even remember that, but it looks familiar.
Gorgeous cloud tank work. I love it.
Who sang that song?
That song was sung by British singer Limahl, who was the lead singer of Kajagoogoo, and he was accompanied by Beth Anderson providing the female vocals. It was written by Giorgio Moroder with lyrics by Keith Forsey, And it appears in the American version of the film, not in the German version.
There's a different song in the German version?
In the German version, the entire movie is scored by Klaus Dolgener, and it is just the orchestral music. Anytime there is a pop song or something that feels like a pop song, that was added for the US version written by Giorgio.
It's Legend all over again.
Exactly.
And if you don't know what that means, go find our episode on Legend. We made 2 of them. That's fascinating to me. And it also makes sense. It's in the same thing, right? We have to make this appeal more to American audiences. We really need pop music.
Yes.
The film starts with young Bastian and his father, a wonderful actor who I've seen in everything. I don't think I remembered him being in this.
Where did you know him from, just out of curiosity?
He's one of those actors that I've seen in 100 other things.
I saw him and thought, wait, is that one half of Simon and Simon from the 1980s TV show?
Sometimes I wonder if he's just making it up because he knows I'm not going to Google it.
I assure you that I'm not.
This movie begins with, I had another dream about Mom. Huh? What? Oh, this got real dark.
Yeah.
Oh, you 2 are dealing with grief and loss.
In the worst way possible.
Worst parenting ever. I wrote it down, by the way. You're old enough to keep your head out of the clouds. Stop daydreaming. Start facing your problems. How old is this kid?
He's 10.
Your mom died. Get over it. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to put an egg and some orange juice in this mixer.
I was going to ask you about this because I have the note, egg and OJ.
Was that a thing?
Was it a thing? I don't know.
I'm going to find out.
I was slightly nauseated watching him drink it.
You know what? I don't even want to look it up, folks. Let me just tell you this. There was this moment happening when the child was bringing up the loss of his mother, and all I could think about was, don't drink that. Please don't drink that.
It's got like a layer of foam at the top. Don't.
This could have been a health drink from the time. If you know, please mark it in the comments for us, because again, I don't want to look it up. We have to have some bullying. It's not a 1980s film unless somebody isn't getting the snot beat out of them or running away from mean kids. Man, your American movies were full of mean kids.
I need to stop you there for just 1 second, because this is not an American movie, sir. This is a German movie.
I see a lot of American kids in it.
It was done with an international approach. They wanted to release it worldwide, but the production itself is German. It was shot mostly in Bavaria studios in Munich, I think, with the exception of the opening scenes with Bastian, because all of those were shot in Vancouver. It is a German-produced film because it is based on a German book. In 1979, German author Michael Ende wrote Die unendliche Geschichte, the Neverending Story. It was very successful in Germany and then got translated into English in 1983 and was successful elsewhere as well. The producer's children read the book and kind of nudged him saying, "Oh, Dad, you should make this into a film.
Make it a movie, make it a movie."
The producer agreed. They bought the rights to the film, and the author Ende actually worked with the director, Wolfgang Petersen. Now, if you remember our discussion on Legend,
yeah,
I expressed surprise when I saw that Ridley Scott had directed it, because Ridley Scott, in my mind, is associated with science fiction, not fantasy. I had the same reaction when watching this one when I saw Wolfgang Petersen's name pop up. Where do you know Wolfgang Petersen from?
Nowhere, except for the fact that I know he's a very famous director.
Very famous director. So I'm going to read you some of his better-known works. In the Line of Fire, Outbreak, Air Force One, The Perfect Storm, Troy. I know him because he directed one of my favorite films and a movie that I consider to be one of the best movies ever made, Das Boot. And it was just shocking that here we have a fantasy film directed by someone who I equate with World War II submarine movies.
Well, I think you brought up a great point, which is that bullies are universal.
Yes. When did I make that point?
When I was joking about American movies having bullies, and you said this is not an American film, which is based not on an American book.
There are German bullies as well, yeah.
German bullies. Who would have thought? Kid runs into a bookstore when he's being chased by the bullies.
Before we get to that part, I have to say I love the fact that the bullies chase him down a dark alley and throw him into a dumpster. He climbs out, walks back onto the street, only to discover the bullies still standing there, who look at him and go, "Who told you could get out?"
He runs into what appears to be a bookstore with what I can only describe as the kind of, let's just say, if this film was made today, there would be so much more of a magical air to our bookkeeper or book guy.
Yeah.
He came off, in modern ways, he would come off as creepy guy who shouldn't be around children. He just has a vibe. He did a great job. Don't get me wrong. That wasn't it.
Yeah.
It was just the whole look of the place and him. You're like, excuse me, sir, I need to leave and find another grown-up that isn't you.
He has the same feelings toward Bastian.
What I really loved was that he was like, there's no video games here. The arcade's down the street or whatever.
Yeah.
All we have here are books. And Bastian's like, I have books.
Comic books.
That's right. And he's like, I have 182 books. And then he starts rattling off everything he's read. And the guy is like, I'm sorry.
Respect. Yeah.
Game respects game.
Yes.
That was so cute and funny. The line that really gets to me, that I'm very curious about, if it's in the book, is that he looks at him and he says, yeah, but your books are safe.
Yes.
There's something about that phrasing that just gets you. And of course it gets him too, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then he does what any person who wants you interested in something will do. Don't worry about it. Forget about it. It's not for you.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is so great.
Bastian obviously borrows the book, shall we say. And Coriander, the bookseller, looks through the window after Bastian has run off, and he kind of smiles.
Mm-hmm.
And then he looks down to see that there is a note saying, "Oh, don't worry, I'll bring the book back." Do you think it was his intention to goad Bastian into taking the book?
Yes.
Or was he really just horrible at saying, no, you're not interested in this, pay no attention to the man behind the mirror?
He smiled, right?
Yeah.
I think this was very intentional.
Okay, good.
I think
Good.
he found a like-minded soul. The opening of the film introduces us to a series of characters that you mentioned. Rockbiter, a snail. And there he is in almost every damn movie that we cover.
Deep Roy! A very young Deep Roy.
I have to ask this, and I could be wrong, Steve. Did they dub him?
They did.
That's what I thought. I'm like, that's not his voice.
No, the voice was provided by Frank Lamort.
I remembered those characters, those creatures.
Yes.
And the Rockbiter. Gosh, the level of detail on the Rockbiter. And the other thing that I'll say is I had a whole new appreciation for the sound design. The sounds in this film are very rich. The Foley work is really great. The crunching, the things that, all of it. This movie sounds so great.
Yes.
And I will say the special effects really look good.
Especially because it's all practical and miniature work. So, I'm in heaven watching this.
When we got to the Empress, which we don't see in that scene, and we have the people who are waiting to speak to the Empress.
Such a wonderful collection of characters.
I almost wanted to pause the movie so I could appreciate everyone that had been designed to be there, because they created a series of different characters for the world.
Yeah.
There was an elephant person. There were people with giant heads and little bodies. There were the multi-face people, which I remembered as a child.
The one that kind of, not freaked me out, but kind of made me go, ugh, was the one where it was two faces that shared the middle eye. So it was three eyes, but then two noses, two mouths to it. That one was a little creepy. As you said, you could pause that scene and just sort of bask in each of the characters for a while.
And then we get to meet Atreyu.
Atreyu.
Of the Plains people.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wait, what's happening here? Is Atreyu Native American? He hunts the purple buffalo.
He hunts the purple buffalo.
And I was like, okay, you're dressed kind of like a Native American, and you're hunting buffalo.
Yeah.
Methinks you are Native American inspired.
Quite probably. In the book, Atreyu has green skin.
Ooh, very cool.
In the early stages of production, they actually did Noah Hathaway, who plays Atreyu, up with green makeup and discover that it looked absolutely atrocious. Rather than paint him green, they actually sent him to a tanning salon because apparently Noah Hathaway was very pale. And so they tanned him up for the role.
Loved the scene. They're like, we have called for this warrior, and he shows up, and they're like, not you. We meant a man. You're a child.
I'm the only Atreyu there is, so if I'm not wanted...
He's like, fine, I'll go back to hunting purple buffalo.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay. And they're like, no, wait, please. So they put him on this journey. Why he's not allowed to take his weapons, I don't know. They never say. It's practically like, listen, this is going to be a very difficult journey. I need you to leave all your weapons. Also, you probably will die. That's essentially what they tell him.
Yeah.
And he's like,
yeah, basically.
Okay, I'll do it. And off he goes. And he's on this journey. We don't know where he's going.
Neither does he.
He doesn't know either. He just mentioned him and his horse, right?
Yep.
His beautiful horse.
Artax.
Artax the horse.
Yes.
Everyone, just take a moment.
Yep.
I want you to remember the ending, folks. Take a deep breath and remember the end of the film. And if you don't remember the end in the film, hang on. We're going to bring you peace.
Yes.
He's traveling with the horse. Oh, and then we hear about a Gamork.
Yes.
The scary wolf. Who is being told to go hunt
Atreyu.
Wonderful Atreyu. And I kill him. Go kill him. And so there's just this black, scary wolf creature that's hunting him.
We only see partial glimpses of him.
Yes.
And then some beautiful POV shots racing through foliage and through trees. Ah,
yeah.
fantastic.
Oh, and of course, something that we can't forget is the nothing. The nothing, which is actually discussed at the beginning with Deep Roy and Rockbiter.
Yes.
Talk about the nothing, that there's this thing. It's just nothing.
It's just nothing.
And I love the description where he's saying there was like a lake.
Yes.
And then there was nothing.
And then
was there a hole?
Then it was gone.
And then it was gone.
Like, no, a hole would be something.
Would be something. And it was
this
just
was
that
nothing.
entire that entire section. I'm just like, oh, this is beautifully written. But there was nothing. So we have the nothing. Everyone's afraid of the nothing. The Empress is ill, etc. And then we have Atreyu. And in his journey, he gets to, and we all know where this is going. Mm-hmm. Minute 30. I wrote it down.
Minute 30. 1/3 of the way through the film. Into the swamps of sadness.
Whoever lets the sadness overtake him would sink into the swamp. And everything's going great until minute 32. And here's what I wrote. Okay?
I'm sorry, I not to interrupt the atmosphere that you are building, but I do love the fact that you have made note that at minute 30 we enter the swamp, at minute 32 this happens.
I am warning them in case they don't know.
Gotcha.
Minute 32. Here's what I wrote down, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
Our trauma begins. We lose Artax.
Yes.
He sinks. I'm just going to put it that way. He sinks while Atreyu desperately asks him not to sink. Here's the next sentence that I wrote, okay?
Okay.
Atreyu cries. Bastian cries. We cry.
Now, I have to say that even being the big softy that I am, who will drop at the cry of a hat? No.
Yes, that's the phrase.
That's the phrase.
It's German.
There you go. This actually did not hit me quite as hard as I thought it would, just because I think I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
I steeled myself for it.
You've built up a layer.
I built up a layer, so
of protection.
It was still like, oh, I remember this.
I watched this in the middle of the day, and I was just like, Jesus, the sun is out, but the sun was out outside, but not in my heart. We meet Morla, the Ancient One. That was another great scene.
Yes, I loved this. I remember loving this one as a child. First, that he climbs this hill in the middle of the swamp that turns out to be the shell of the giant tortoise.
Absolutely amazing. And I remembered her voice, right? That weird voice that she has. Great lines too, right? We don't care,
we don't even care that we don't care. or something to that effect.
There were just moments in this film where I'm like, the writing is so good. This is so great. There is a scream, which is our first hint. Bastian screams. Everyone hears him.
Atreyu and Morla kind of look up and go, huh? And then Bastian looks up and goes, huh?
And then he's like, that's impossible.
One of the things that I very much enjoyed about this movie is the weaving between Bastian reading and the contents of the story. I've been trying to remember, because I think we have dealt with a movie before where there was an outside person reading or doing something, and then we see the story that they are experiencing. And that can be very clunky if not handled well. This movie handles it very well. It's often enough that you are always aware that, oh, no, this is the story that is being read, but at the same time, spaced out enough that it's not a constant interruption. So hats off to Peterson for handling that as well as he did.
Bastian is set up to us as somebody who's grieving and who's having a very difficult time at life, who is disappointing people. And one of his great joys is to disappear into books. And you see him struggling. He goes to school. There's a math test. He's already doing poorly. And he just wants to hide and read a book. And he just gets engrossed in it. I think, if anything, this movie is a great inspiration for people to go read.
When was the last time you were as engrossed in a book as Bastian was?
When I read the very first Harry Potter, didn't know what it was. Somebody had left it. They had been visiting. And I picked it up at random. This is before the movies. And just started reading it. And what I remember was feeling like a child as I read it. The magic of childhood came to me in the way that it does for Bastian. Like, you just get sucked into the magical world, and there are these kids and they're doing incredible things and you want to be one of them, right? And I think that's the other thing. Bastian is sucked in because Atreyu is a kid who's being chosen to do this thing. And all of us wanted to be the kid who was chosen to go on an adventure. And I think that's why this movie works as well as it does for children, because it is a dream. We can't go through every little bit of this plot because we'd be here forever.
Yes.
But we do have to talk about its most famous character, Falkor.
Falkor.
The luck dragon.
Yes.
The dream of every kid of a certain age and our general demographic.
Yep.
What a magical creature that Falkor is. I'm a luck dragon. I remember this scene so vividly. Mm-hmm. I dreamt of having a luck dragon. I wanted to fly away on a luck dragon. Gosh, there's something really magical about this. It just hits the spot. As far it's a dragon, but it's a happy dragon.
Yes.
And he's funny, and he's got an itch behind his ear, and the voice is just magical.
Yeah.
I could spend hours talking about Falkor. I could. It's wonderful.
You mentioned the voice. Falkor was voiced by Alan Oppenheimer, who provided a couple of voices for the movie. Not only did he do Falkor, he was also the Rockbiter and Gamorg. He's an actor that has had many TV and film roles, voice acting as well. Probably, I'm not going to say the most famous, but the role that I know him from, without knowing that it was him, he was the voice of Skeletor in the He-Man cartoons.
No way.
Yes.
I love Falkor's voice. I love the Rockbiter. I had forgotten about this. It hit me so much harder as a grown-up. Towards the end, Atreyu meets Rockbiter. And he has that speech. They look like good, strong hands, don't they?
Yes.
And I was like, wait, what's happening? I was like, as an adult, I'm like, wait, what's going on here?
Yeah.
I couldn't hold them. My friends, the nothing took them. And then he looks at his hands again and it says, they look like good, strong hands, don't they? And I was like, holy crap, I'm about to burst into tears.
Yes.
And he was just like, I'm just going to sit here and let the nothing take me. And I was like, no. That was new trauma for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was brand new.
It was for me as well, because this was the split in the film that I referenced a little earlier in the episode. Prior to Atreyu waking up on the beach at the ruined city. I remembered a lot. I remembered all sorts of details. I remembered the characters. I remembered how things were going to happen. But once Atreyu woke up, I realized that I didn't remember the details anymore. I remembered roughly what was going to happen. Gamork's line, or rather his little conversation with Atreyu, didn't remember that as a child. Hits super hard now, particularly the one line, what does he say? He says, because people who have no hopes are easy to control, and whoever has the control has the power. It's like, ooh, how delightfully evil.
He describes Fantasia as the world of human fantasies. He says people have begun to lose their hopes and forget their dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why the nothing is coming, essentially. Again, oh, God. And then we get to the end. We get to the end moment. And I remember this for several reasons.
Okay.
I knew what was happening, right?
Yes.
What I remember as a child was really not liking the Empress. Not liking how upset she was.
Okay.
Right? Because she starts crying.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, young actor Atreyu, he's great. But when he gets to yelling, he has one tone. And he just yells. It's just the same tone in multiple scenes. And he's like, why is this happening? And I'm going to speak like this. And I was like, okay, that's a lot, kid. Can we get a little, fluctuate your tone a little bit there? Why isn't he doing anything? And of course, the whole point is that Bastian needs to do his part now.
Yes.
And I do find it to be a clever end of the tale, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where we're like, you brought him. Because that's the thing that she says. You did it.
Yeah.
And also, I love that he gets mad at her. He's like, you knew the whole time? And she goes, yeah. He said, my horse died. I almost died.
But that was the only way to get him engaged, to bring him along. It's like, oh.
We had to get him into a story.
Yes.
To get him here.
And I absolutely love the fact that she references us, the audience, because she says something along the lines of, there are others who are watching him, who watched him steal the book, who watched him. It's like, oh,
this is getting very surreal. There's layers here. We're inceptioning this.
Layers. Hey.
So like, wow. Okay. Yeah, fascinating. I remembered the grain of salt. Like a sand. The grain of sand.
Single grain of sand. Yeah.
Single grain of sand. I remember that shot. I remember everything going dark and then just the light from this sand.
I loved her line because Bastian asks, why is it so dark? And she just responds casually, in the beginning, it's always dark.
Yes. And then we get what I can only describe as the most amazing child fantasy ever.
Yes.
Which is, in order to fix this, you need to make wishes. And I just thought to myself, as a child, that would have been it. Right? All we wanted was the ability to make wishes and make things come true. And then, of course, we get the end, and we've got, him riding Falcor, which I thought was great. That was his very first wish. Everything gets restored, including Artax.
Yes, Artax is back.
And I think we forget about that. I think we're so upset at the trauma at the beginning of the film, minute 30 to 33, that we forget that at the end of the film, he's restored.
All is well.
And we see Atreyu riding him. Thank goodness. And we see Rockbiter and his friends. Everyone's back. We're all good. Nobody died. Everything's fine. Beautiful. Beautiful. But again, it was like, oh, this is meant for children. Because only a child would find the greatest joy in the solution being wishes. Wishes make the world. I have no context for how this film did. I know this clearly has a cult following. How did it do when it was released?
It did very well when it was released. It was actually the highest grossing film in Germany when it first came out. And it did okay in America. I think the numbers that I found was that it earned just as much in America as it did in Germany, which meant that it didn't perform particularly well in America.
We made a lot of fantasy in those years that people were just not into just yet. These movies didn't do super well at first.
But now that it's like 20, 30 years later, we're looking back going, oh, hey, this was actually pretty good. It had a budget of roughly 25 million, perhaps a little more because it was all in Deutschmarks and exchange rates, etc. Managed to gross in the box office worldwide 100 million. So successful. Critics were mixed. Some of the reviews I read praised the movie. Others thought it was kind of childish, not done particularly well, etc. Roger Ebert liked it. And he loved the fact that all of the creatures were actually physically made and were there with the actors, because it added a layer of depth that you do not get if it was, animated in after the fact or, something along those lines. So he very much liked it. There was one person, though, who thought that this was a gigantic melodrama of kitsch, commerce, plush, and plastic.
Damn.
That was Michael Ende, the author.
Uh-oh.
When production began, he was very enthusiastic about working with Wolfgang Petersen, and the two of them got together. He advised on the script. Everything was good. But then Petersen apparently made some changes without his knowledge, changing the story in the movie to the point that Michael Ende, number one, asked that his name be removed. I do not know if you noticed, but his name does not appear in the opening credits. He's mentioned in the end, but not in the opening, where you'd think he'd be prominently displayed. He asked the studio to either halt production or change the name of the movie. The studio politely declined. So he then filed a lawsuit to try to get them to stop production, which ultimately failed. So he was not happy with this version, in part because of some changes that were made, and it only covers the first half of the book. Do you remember the narrator at the end saying very briefly in one sentence, like, oh, Bastian went on many more adventures in Fantasia before returning home, but that's another story? That's the second half of the book. Now, the funny thing is that I believe this is now the third movie that I have picked where there is a life after documentary that has been made about it. Originally titled Life After Atreyu, it was changed to Life After the Neverending Story, that talks about Noah Hathaway, because he went through a hell of a lot in the production of this movie. So, having been cast as Atreyu, one of the first things they did was they sent him off to learn to ride horses, because he had to ride Artax. And whilst training, the horse that he was riding spooked. He fell off, and the horse landed on top of him, breaking his back. He spent 2 months in a German hospital in traction before filming even began. Then, Wolfgang Petersen, it turns out, is a huge proponent of actors doing their own stunts.
Oh, no.
So that you don't have to deal with the whole, oh, that's obviously a stunt double thing that audiences can do. So every time Atreyu got blown out of the tree and had to fall 12 feet into the swamp, he was actually doing that. I think he said that they did like 30 takes of that over the course of filming.
Covered in stuff and wet. And that was one thing I thought about when I saw that scene. I'm like, oh, they are just dousing him in mud and whatever. Yep. And all I thought was, how many times did he have to do that?
And quite a few.
And it wasn't... And you're like, I wish it's California, because at least maybe it's warmer.
No, this was Bavaria. It was a very large sound stage for the Swamp of Sadness. There was 6 feet of standing water at any given time, and it was cold. There were 2 Artaxes that they had to swap out over the course of filming the Swamp of Sadness scenes, because as one would get cold, they bring in the other one, warm up the first one. Poor Noah Hathaway had to, between takes, they'd stick him under a warmer, a sort of a heat blower to warm him back up before throwing him back into the cold water. So he was bruised, battered, but the one that gets me the most was Gmork's attack, when the wolf lunges out of his hole and tackles Atreyu, because Gmork was a couple 100 pounds worth of animatronic that they shot out of the hole in the wall using an air cannon.
No.
And in one of the takes, they knocked Noah Hathaway out cold. He was unconscious for 5 minutes before coming back around.
Oh my God.
So I sit here and I say this with a giggle, but it's a giggle because I have to kind of laugh. Otherwise, it would just be traumatizing. This poor man suffered.
How old was he? Do we know?
He was 12.
He ain't no man. That's a child.
No.
He was all of 12.
He was all of 12. Barrett Oliver, who played Bastian, was a child actor. He was active for a few more years and then stopped acting in 1989. And now he is a photographer. And his specialty is sort of 19th century methods of photography. So we're talking like the old plates rather than film type stuff, which is interesting. And then there's Tammy Stronach, who played the Empress. She quit acting after this role. They wanted to sign her on for the sequel. Her parents and she politely declined. She took a break from acting, studied dance, has since gone on to become a producer, both of stage and film. And then I think as of last year, 2024, she actually acted in a film that she also produced. Part of what drove her to say no, she received a lot of very inappropriate advances. There were people who proposed marriage to the 11-year-old girl. She was sent scripts saying, oh, would you be in this movie, which involved scenes that 11-year-old girls should not be a part of in any way, shape, or form. The kind of fun thing is that between the end of filming and leaving Germany to go back to California, there was a 3-day gap. She did a TV interview in Germany and was asked, have you learned any of the German language? Do you speak anything? And she mentioned that not really, but she could sing 99 Luftballons pretty well. So on this show, they had her sing a little 99 Luftballons. She was contacted by a music producer who offered her a contract. They agreed, signed the contract, songs were written, songs were recorded, a music video was produced, all in the 3 days between the end of filming and them leaving for America. The music video for Fairy Queen, I believe, is available on YouTube if you're interested in seeing Tammy Stronach as a young girl just singing and actually doing a pretty good job of it, all things considered.
There were multiple sequels, correct?
There were, yes. There was a Neverending Story 2, which took the general story and the characters from the book, but kind of went in a different direction than the original story. Neverending Story 3 borrowed the characters, but told a completely different story. 2 did not as good, I don't think, and 3 bombed, if I recall correctly.
I can't remember if Atreyu, the actor who played Atreyu, was in those or if they replaced him.
Michael Ende not liking the way Peterson handled the first half of the book was none too thrilled about subsequent movies being made. So it took a little bit of time to actually get the rights to do the movies. So the Neverending Story 2 came out in 1990.
Oh, wow.
Problem here is that all of the child actors were now far too old to reprise their roles. So Neverending Story 2 and Neverending Story 3 have entirely new casts. There is one actor who reprised his role from Neverending Story to Neverending Story 2, and that was Thomas Hill, who plays Coriander, the bookseller.
Is there more than one book?
I think there have been other stories written inspired by it, but the Neverending Story itself is just one book.
Well, I have to ask, how did you feel watching it again?
I felt great. This was a combination of a marvelous trip down memory lane up to a certain point in the movie. It was great fun revisiting all of the bits I remembered and then experiencing the bits that I had obviously forgotten for the first time. That was fantastic. And it helps that the movie still looks phenomenal. It is dated. You can tell some of the techniques that they're using, and you can definitely see that if this were remade today, which they're talking about doing, there would be a whole bunch more CGI involved, which, I have mixed feelings about that. I like practical effects myself, but whatever. So I think this movie looks great. It was great fun. Artax notwithstanding. Absolutely loved it. would highly recommend it to anyone who is interested. You, sir, this was a far more bigger part of your childhood. How was it revisiting it now?
I think it was satisfying. I think kind of like when we've talked about Willow, for example, when I heard the music, you just remember, right? You not only do you remember it, you remember your feelings at the time. You remember what those things made you feel. And I think it was such a trip down memory lane for me. And I didn't remember all of it, but man, I love the makeup. I love the designs of the creatures. I'm a sucker for those too. I love practical work, and I really like the writing, and orange juice and egg notwithstanding. What also is helpful is that the movie gets right to it. We don't have a lot of build-up before we start the story. Right. And I think I really like that, because as a kid, they don't care about exposition. Just get me to the point where I get to see the cool stuff. Yeah. And I think this movie does that. It delivers in that way. And I just find it to be very sweet, quite beautiful, quite surprisingly moving, and nice. It's nice. And I think it, like you said, I think it holds up. Yes, there's some pop music that will bring back a lot of memories for some people. Yes. But even that, and I found that interesting, the theme song, it's one of those that is clearly written for the movie, and a lot of times that does not work. But I was like, this kind of works. This is totally fine.
It does.
But of course, our German friends did not get to hear that.
No.
Remember what we talked about with Legend? The people who had their one experience and the people who had the other because they changed the composers.
Yes.
Right? Everybody has a different experience with it. If you've never seen this before, absolutely, go for it. And if you haven't seen it in a really, really long time, I'd revisit it. I'd be very curious what you have to say. And please leave us comments. Tell us about your Neverending Story experiences. I think it's also a movie that if you get a little bit too old, it's the Goonies factor. I think if you're a little bit too old, you miss it. I really do. Storytelling magic, when it comes to this sort of thing, there's a time limit. The reason that it was so impactful for me was because I was so young when I watched it.
I was going to say, I think the closer you are to Bastian and Atreyu's age, I think the better time you're going to have of it.
Wonderful. And that, folks, is the Neverending Story. Well done, Steve. It wasn't as traumatizing as I expected it to be.
No, quite enjoyable, I thought.
And again, Artax is alive.
Yes.
Just remember that. Thank you so much for watching or listening. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already done so that we can continue to do these kind of episodes. Join us next time.
Sit back, it's time to get groovy. Question, do you remember that movie?